Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I'm Dr. Bianca Bush, psychiatrist, educator, and someone who just took their board exam in September and had to wait until nearly December to find out whether or not I passed. Yes, that's a full quarter of a fiscal year, trimester of pregnancy, a season of life, long enough probably for Beyonce to drop an album, go on tour, maybe even win a Grammy. So today we're talking about something that nobody prepares us for, and that's the waiting period. We're waiting until we get our scores. So I'm going to talk about things that you should do, things that you shouldn't do while you're waiting for your board score. And if you're new here, hello, I make content about test anxiety, study psychology, and performance, especially for students and professionals who are taking high stakes exams. My book, Test Anxiety No More, has helped a lot of people, and I also now have a course where I help you study smarter, manage anxiety, and stay consistent, whether you're taking step 1, general board, specialty boards, studying for your certified financial planning exam, all tests, all types. So before we jump in, and I'm going to be looking at my notes, so pardon me for looking down. I'm curious, how long does your board, your specialty, your exam take to release scores? Drop it in the comments. I want to know if some of you have it worse. Are you waiting 2 months, 3 months, 4 months? Maybe you would get your scores instantly. I want to know, is psychiatry just special and that we have a long waiting period? So drop it in the comments below. Let's talk about why waiting feels so hard. We're going to start with why it feels so brutal. So, 1, you have been in threat mode for months. Studying triggers the fight, flight, freeze system, right? That's the sympathetic activation. And so your body, it really doesn't know that the threat is over, only that you're anticipating danger. So cortisol has been your roommate for months, rent-free. You're wired, jumpy, hyper-analyzing everything, and your brain is still scanning in danger mode, scanning for danger in danger mode. 2, this is something called the Zeigarnik effect. And the Zeigarnik effect is named after Lithuanian Soviet psychologist Bluma Zeigarnik. She postulated that people remember unfinished or interrupted tasks better than completed tasks. Isn't that interesting? So that means that until you get that score, your board exam or the exam that you're taking is like the ultimate unfinished task because you don't know the result. So your brain might keep trying to close that loop. This means like at 2 a.m., you're replaying things, playing things, thinking, did I pass it or not pass, right? You keep trying to edit things like it's your own personal Netflix episode or special, right? Like a movie. Number 3 reason why this is really hard is because it represents a loss of control, plus thinking about perfectionism. High achievers like you and me really hate uncertainty. You want to know what the outcome will be, right? Wouldn't it be nice if you got your score right away after you finish the exam? Well, a lot of the times that's not the case. And so waiting becomes this forced surrender. There's really nothing else that you can do, right? You're not going to call the board and say, hey, are the scores ready for release? There's really nothing you can do. You can't study more. That's not going to change the outcome, and you can't influence the timeline. And so for many of us, losing control feels more uncomfortable than even the possibility of a low score. Like if you just knew right away after you took your exam, that might feel more comfortable than this period of the unknown. So let's talk about some things that you can do while you're waiting. 3 things that you can do while you're waiting that I recommend. Number 1, celebrate being done, no matter the outcome. Finishing a board exam is a milestone. Your brain has endured months of effort, sacrifice, cognitive load. You have completed the educational equivalent of climbing Mount Everest. But instead of a view at the top, you had 300 questions or more, something like that, and then a proctor who was doing a body scan like the TSA every time you entered and exited the exam, right? So it's like you've done this really huge thing and the reward is not a great view, but a task. So your effort deserves recognition, and celebration actually trains your brain to associate effort with reward. which improves motivation for future tasks. So if you've got more exams to take, this is helping to train your brain. If you have to do a retake, this is training your brain, right? Okay, regardless of the outcome, I'm gonna have some type of celebration or some type of reward at the end. So here are some ideas about how you can celebrate. Take a walk or a hike in a new place. It can really engage the senses, be exciting to the body, and rejuvenating to get out in nature and do something that you haven't done. Maybe you love food, you're a foodie. Get dinner at a new place or a place that you love. I talk about this often, me and one of my good friends from medical school. After we finish our exams, regardless of the outcome, we're gonna go to Smashburger and get a burger. Maybe you can think about booking a massage. And this doesn't have to be expensive. If you live in a place where there's a massage school, you could probably get a discounted massage for like 20, 30 bucks, maybe even free. Or if you want to splurge, you could go to a spa. But this is a great way to celebrate finishing your exam. Another thing to do would be to just take some time off. If you're able to do that, veg. Maybe you want to binge watch something on Netflix or any of the other streaming services. Take some time off if you can. And then another thing that you can do is do something that your studying self didn't have time for, right? And that can be a number of things. So anything that you might have been putting off. All right, so number one, we're going to celebrate finishing. And then number two, we can think about reclaiming life and routine. There's a weird vacuum, or there can be a weird vacuum after you finish a major test or something, a major push. People may even feel this after they've written a very long paper, their thesis, right? Because you've been spending months working on a rigid schedule, or your mind has been dedicated to this task, right? Your dopamine and reward pathways have gotten accustomed to the structure and the cycle of studying and working. And so when that structure disappears, it can feel like something's wrong or something's missing. And you might even find yourself waking up thinking, oh, I have to study today, right? And so it can be important to intentionally rebuild your routine, but in a gentle way. So making sure you're sleeping normally again, right? Maybe you were pushing your sleep so that you had more time to study. Okay, now maybe we can sleep a little bit more. Maybe you were sacrificing your exercise or moving your body because you were studying. I know that was certainly the case for me. I can't do too many things at once. I've got a business to run, patients to take care of, my family to take care of, plus I'm studying. And so maybe I'm not doing as many things as I would for exercise. Okay, now it's time to get more active. Maybe you'll take time to cook actual food. Sometimes when I'm helping people prepare for their exams and we're just assessing what's in their environment and how can they maximize their time, I'll recommend using a meal service or getting more prepared foods. But now you have more time. So maybe you want to try some new recipes. Maybe you want to go to the farmer's market and get some new, interesting, fresh produce and cook it up. This is a great time to do that. Perhaps you've been putting off meeting up with people. Your friends are getting together. You're like, I can't. I'm focused. I'm studying in my dedicated period. So now's a great time to reconnect with people that you haven't seen since before you started studying. Grab a coffee, go for a walk, any of those kinds of things. You might think about doing a new hobby or returning to some hobbies that you previously had. Do you like to use watercolor? Do you like to kayak? Return to those hobbies that brought you joy, but that you put off so that you could get this test and this studying done. Maybe you're even gonna finally water the plants that were thriving before your exam, but are now droopy, maybe a little bit brown. Or maybe you'll call your mom because she's been calling you and you're like, I can't talk too much, Mom, I'm studying. So number 3, this is the third thing to do after you've taken your exam. Create a contingency plan, but a neutral one. Your brain calms down when it knows there's a plan, even if you don't end up needing it. So a neutral plan means anticipating that, not assuming that you failed, also not assuming that you passed, but understanding what your options would be in either case. For example, if I pass, I'm going to celebrate, I'm going to resume my normal routine, and I'm going to move to the next phase of life or the next phase of training. Okay, so those are the things that you're going to do be pass, right? You're setting your mind up for that. All right, let's think about what happens if you fail. All right, I'm gonna revisit my mindset, what's happening, what's going on in my mind. Maybe I'm gonna join a structured program, study program. I'm gonna outline the materials that I need, and I'm gonna create a study timeline, right? So you've considered two different scenarios, and this prevents catastrophic thinking. So you'll have a plan just in case. Your brain doesn't need the answer. It needs clarity on the next steps, no matter what the score is, no matter whether it's pass or fail. All right, so we talked about 3 things to do after you take your exam. Now we're going to talk about 3 things that you should not do while you're waiting for your score. Number 1, don't restudy the material just in case. This can be anxiety tricking you into thinking that you're being productive, right? And so this fear can trigger sort of compulsive checking behaviors. And so this is really designed, your mind's thinking, oh, this is going to help me reduce my anxiety by going back and thinking like, okay, did I answer this question correctly? Did I get this concept right? But it really keeps your brain in the threat cycle. It keeps you anxious. It keeps you thinking that you're in danger, right? And so resisting the urge to restudy your material right after the exam can be just like resisting the urge to text your ex. Nothing good is going to come from it. So remember that. Number 2, don't torture yourself replaying the questions. Memory biases make you exaggerate mistakes. I'm going to say that again. Memory biases make you exaggerate mistakes. Have you ever had that experience after the exam where you're like, man, I know that I messed up that question? Your brain can have the tendency to then think, oh, I probably messed up many more questions, right? And so you're never going to remember the actual question word for word. In these exams, we know that we can't take pictures, we can't write things down, and so we're relying on our memory, and sometimes that can play tricks on us. And you don't know how the exam or the exam writers or exam scorers are going to weigh particular questions. So you're almost like fighting a losing battle, trying to think and figure out, and like, okay, if I got this many questions wrong, how am I going to score, right? Because we may not know. So if you have a tendency towards worry or anxiety, your brain fills in gaps with the worst case scenarios. So it's not being helpful really in that moment. It's being dramatic. So we want to not replay questions. Number 3, don't compare yourself to others. And so this is the one that can really spike cortisol. So we know that when we compare ourselves to others, we're really not thinking about all of our strengths. We're not thinking about who we really are and our unique talents. And our brain can misinterpret this comparison as threat, right? So really think about who you are, think about your goals, and not thinking about, oh, did this person get this or that? One of the things I also talk about is really separating myself potentially from other test takers. This is something I did in medical school. After exams, I would often make a beeline out of the lecture hall or even the building because it would just spike my anxiety to hear people talking about, oh yeah, what did you do for this question? What did you do for that question? I answered this, or I answered, oh yeah, it was totally that answer, right? And so really that could take me into comparison mode. So you don't need to hear what someone else thought about the biostat section, right? You don't need to hear that. None of it is really going to impact how you actually did, right? The point is that you did it, you ran the race, and so the score is going to reflect your effort, your timeline, your knowledge, your preparation. So we don't need to compare ourselves. All right, so if you happen to need, so we talked about 3 things to do, 3 things to not do. If you happen to need a retake, or you just want a smarter, calmer way to prepare for the next big exam, the course that I put together based on the work that I've done with many students and physicians, Test Anxiety No More, there's a link below. You can check it out, see if it might be helpful to you if you're really looking for something to help with mindset, not content, but mindset. I'm curious to know for you, what wait time is normal, right? You talked about, I had you put in the chat what it is for yours. And so let's talk about sort of generally what different areas of medicine, what's the wait time for scores. So ABPN, psychiatry and neurology, typical wait is 8 to 12 weeks, long time. Internal medicine, 6 to 8 weeks. Family medicine, about 6 weeks. Pediatrics, 6 to 10 weeks. Surgery can be 10 to 12 weeks. anesthesiology, 8 weeks, emergency medicine, 6 to 10 weeks. So yes, it looks like we're all collectively suffering, waiting on these scores. So I'm here with you. I've been through this many times. I hope these tips are helpful. So no matter where you trained, what exam you took, how you felt walking out, waiting is hard. But it doesn't have to define you. It doesn't have to define your time. Certainly doesn't have to define your worth, and doesn't have to determine your future. Let yourself reset, celebrate your effort, and trust that you will handle whatever comes next. If you found this helpful, please share it with somebody who just took an exam, who's going to take an exam. And if you're studying, retaking, want to do this in a calm way, check out the resources that I have linked here below, also with other videos. I have a variety of things to help because I'm really passionate about this. I believe in you. You've gotten this far because you're smart. This test does not change that about you. It is just a test. And so I'm here because I want people to reach their full potential. I meet too many smart people who get stuck at this point and can't move on to the next step of their careers that's going to really help them live a fulfilling life or make more money, whatever the case may be. And I don't want sort of anxiety to get in the way and prevent them from getting to that next step. So really passionate about this. I believe in you. I'm cheering you on, and I can't wait to see you in the next video. All right, bye.